Have you ever felt guilty after a spontaneous shopping trip? Or maybe you've got a nagging worry that you're not quite sure if you've got enough money to pay the bills this month. If you've ever said to yourself, I don't need a budget, I'm doing fine, then this podcast episode is for you. We're diving deep into the myth of the no budget lifestyle, and I'm uncovering the hidden costs of financially winging it. We'll challenge those outdated beliefs that a budget is restrictive or only for people in financial trouble. Because the truth is, a budget isn't about deprivation, it's about empowerment. Welcome to Dollars and Dreams, the podcast designed to empower you to take control of your personal and business finance. You know, the very thought of money and finance can often send chills down your spine and stir up fear of the unknown. But let's change that narrative together. Through this podcast, my goal is to not only to provide you with useful information, but also to inspire and motivate you to take action towards your own financial goals. Let's rewrite your money story together. Hello and welcome to today's episode of Dollars and Dreams. For anybody who has been following me for a little while or knows me, you will know that I am really passionate about getting control of your money. Financial freedom is about you taking control of the driver's seat when it comes to how your money is spent, how your money is saved, and how it is invested. So today's episode is about why you need a budget, because one of the things that we hear all the time is when people come to us and they're not quite sure if they can retire at a certain age, they're going through a separation or a divorce and they don't know how to look after their money, or they're just wondering how they can get ahead faster. Because let's face it, life is about enjoying it. It's not about working or stressing about money. So when we talk to these people, the first thing we always say is bring along your budget if you have one. And of course, nobody has a budget. Well, I shouldn't say nobody. Some people do, but not enough people have a budget, because the outdated myth we have is that budgets take forever to do. Budgets are difficult because how do I know what my costs are going to be? Budgets can be restrictive because it tells me I can't spend money. These are all myths. And the reason that there are myths is because we believe that the old way of doing a budget is what still is there. And of course, that's not the case. Technology has allowed us to do a budget in next to no time. I agree your forecasting is what we say it is. It's a forecasting. You're looking at what you think you're going to spend, but at least you've got some mind in that. So most costs don't go down unless we take an active interest in them and make them go down. And so when we do a budget, people will say, I don't know what my car insurance is going to be, or I don't know how much I'm going to need for groceries or a holiday or whatever it is. But the reality is you need to run your family or your own financial world like a CEO. So a CEO, which in a business would be part of doing a budget to work out if they've got enough money to bring on new staff, get new equipment or machinery, whether they need new office space, whether they're expanding, contracting. And so what that does is it gives them a clear picture of what the future might look like. Now, knowledge is power. You'll hear me say that all the time. But burying your head in the sand when it comes to I don't want to know what I spend, or I don't want to know what I owe, or how can I control something that I have no control over, is not a reason to ignore it. So when we look at things moving forward, we will look at, insurances are always going to go up. Your council, your water and rent is going to go up. Yes, it might not be 100% accurate, but doing a budget to estimate what those costs might be in the next 12 months is better than doing nothing. So if you don't budget for your insurances to go up on your car rego, your servicing, your tyres, and all those things that we need to spend to keep our car on the road. It's not going to change the fact, and that's what I say to people, pretending it's not going to happen doesn't stop it happening. So the insurance will still go up, the servicing will still go up, all these things are still going to happen, and you're still going to get that bill, except that now you're prepared for it. We've built in an increase of those into your budget so that you can have control. So when we talk about budgeting, a lot of people will say to me, no, I'm fine. And I don't know whether that is because they want to believe that themselves, whether they're afraid to work out what it might be. But then when I talk to them and, we just have a conversation and we keep going, and they just say, well, it's so hard because groceries have gone up so much. And, I can't seem to get ahead. I'm bringing home the same amount of money, but there's nothing left, whereas before I had something left. And then I go, let's circle back to the first thing you said to me. I don't need a budget because I'm fine. Now, that's not to be mean or nasty or deflating to them, but the reality of what their life is that they're not fine. So when we do a budget, we look at what is going to come in the next 12 months, because that gives us an indication. If you don't spend it all and the costs don't go up as much as you thought they would, you're far better off than not having the money aside, and then you're turning to short-term lending or debt and things like that. So it is important with your budget, regardless of whether you're doing fine or struggling, that you put a budget in place. So a budget is the center point of you taking control of your money. And you will hear people on social media, and I want to scream at the social media when I see it, or anywhere else that says, you don't need a budget because a budget doesn't work. And I am livid when I hear that, because what they're doing is they're telling you what you want to hear. So putting the 60% of your income into an account to spend is great. It's better than leaving the whole 100% there for you to spend. But if you never dig into where you're spending money, you don't find ways to change it. So it's a bit like if you went to your doctor and you said, I'm tired all the time, I've got no energy, I can't get out of bed, and when I do, I'm exhausted, I'm eating well, I'm doing everything's fine. And your doctor goes, well, that's great, Jen. There's nothing to worry about because you're eating fine and you're exercising. It'll go. You'd walk out of that doctor's and go, well, they didn't really look at what is wrong with me. What a doctor would do is go, right, well, let's send you for blood tests. We might not like what comes back from those blood tests, but at least we have an action plan, whether that's a treatment, it's a lifestyle change, it's medical intervention. We have the knowledge to make changes. So when people tell me that they're fine, they don't need to do a budget because they're okay, they've got some savings, and I look at them and I go, but imagine if you could be better. Imagine if you're like that patient that goes to the doctor and they do the test and they go, you're short of iron. Here's some iron tablets. Go take them. We'll rerun the tests. Or, whatever is wrong with you that shows up in your blood test, here's now a treatment plan. So what we do with our budget is we treat it like you are the GP. You're looking into what is going wrong, looking at ways that you can feel better, have more energy, have that drive that patient is lacking. So we dig into where we spend our money, because that is the only way that you can make changes. Knowledge is power. Knowing where you spend gives you the opportunity to know what you can change. So just like the patient, you need to eat more iron, you need to take these iron tablets, or your diet's actually lacking, your thyroid's low, here's some medication. You got the answer because you dug deep. So that's what you need to do with your budget. A budget is not a restrictive tool, and that's the other myth that we hear all the time, is that I don't want to do a budget because it means I can't go away for the weekend. I can't go out for brunch with my girlfriends. I can't do this. I can't do that. A budget's not about that. It's about you prioritizing what is important to you and your lifestyle. So if you want to go and have brunch every Sunday with your girlfriends because, you might have just gone through divorce, your kids have left home, you're lonely, your husband might do a fly-in, fly-out job, it is important to you. So you budget for that in your spending. It does mean that you might have to give away something else that isn't important. So for me, when I get lazy, I don't bring my lunch to work. I'll go around, we've got just like a little sandwich shop around the corner, and I will go and buy my lunch. Now, that was okay when a chicken salad sandwich used to cost $4.50. It doesn't cost that anymore. And so, of course, I never walk out with just the chicken salad sandwich or a, chicken schnitzel wrap or whatever it is that I buy. I tend to buy a can of Diet Coke or another drink. I might buy myself a little treat, spring roll or a custard tart or something. And it was only when I stop and pull myself up because my budget's not working that I go, right, that's because I've been lazy. So instead of bringing my lunch, because lunch to me isn't a sandwich at the takeaway shop round the corner. That's not important to me. So I have to remind myself of what is important to me. So what is important to me? I'm a sewer. I want to be able to buy really nice material. I want to be able to, I'm saving at the moment to replace my overlocker, and I want a fancy pantsy one. So for me, that is what is important. So I prioritize. In my budget, am I setting money aside to buy that fancy pantsy overlocker? Or do I want to buy my lunch every day? So it's about reminding me. And, there's days that I do and I will walk around to the shop. That doesn't make me feel guilty that one day because I might have worked late, so I didn't get out of bed in time to make my salad. I counteract that by on a Sunday night, I get myself prepared and I wash up all my salad, I cook it all up and get everything ready. So of a morning, I've just got to jump out of bed and assemble it. If I've had a busy weekend, sometimes I don't do that. But for me, it's not a priority. For other people, buying their lunch every day might be a priority. So their budget needs to do that accordingly. So with me, when I find myself buying my lunch every day, it turns out that ends up, close to $50 a week just in being lazy and buying my lunch. So it reminds me of what I want to do. It means that my spending for that week has been impacted, not where I want it to go. So I tend to put it then that the next week I need to get my $50 back where it should be. And that is in my short-term savings. So I do have a short-term savings, which is for our family. If you haven't looked at my 6 bank account system, it is the bee's knees of keeping control of your money because you have all your income coming into one account, which will look after all those regular bills that you have, like your car insurance, your council rates, your water rates, your house insurance, and all of those things. I have a spending account. Then you have your luxury account, which is we call Queen Bee, and that's the nice things in life. Your short-term savings, your long-term savings, and of course your emergency fund. My emergency fund is about to get hit again. Every time I build it back up to where it should be, it gets hit. So in the last couple of weeks, we've had 3 things that we've been hit by. My husband has had to have surgery, so we have a out of pocket to the surgeon, and so that was quite significant. It was a very big operation, so the health fund didn't cover that. So we've got it's $5,500, I think it is, that we're out of pocket to the surgeon. The week before he went in for surgery, our fridge, we've got a barbecue room where we can go outside and sit outside. We have a fridge in there, and that fridge died. So there's, I think he said $2,200 for that. and the chlorinator in our pool died, which I think is another $1,200. So we've paid the surgeon, because you have to pay a surgeon before you have the operation. I'm now in the process of building back that emergency fund. The chlorinator in the pool, well, for the moment we're just putting chlorine in manually, and a fridge in our barbecue area is not a priority. So I am waiting for the emergency fund to be built back up before we buy those other two things. I'm hoping that adage of everything comes in threes is that, because that week and a half cost us about $8,000. So actually it was more than that, about $9,000. So that is why I have an emergency fund. That money was there to pay for my husband's surgery, which needed to be done very quickly. It was a life-saving surgery. So it's not something that you want to put aside. So the emergency fund is there, and that's part of your budgeting as you are building it up. The contract that I have with myself says what I can use that emergency fund for, but my budget now has to change because I have to build it back up. So all of a sudden I need to relook at my budget so that I've given myself 6 months to get my emergency fund. So that is a really important thing for me. So the budget tells me where I can save money. Guess what that means? I don't get to buy my lunch anytime in the next 6 months because I've made a decision that that is not important to me as opposed to other things. It does mean, unfortunately, that my sewing machine that I'm saving for is probably being pushed back a little bit, but that's okay. I already have an overlocker. I just want an upgrade. So it's not something that I need to do now. I've always talked about my emergency fund being around my dogs needing surgery because of, they're crazy dogs. They run through the gardens and things like that. So that, of course, is something that is important to me to make sure that I can have that veterinary care for my dogs. Budgeting is about telling your money where to go, and it is you making an informed decision, not a fly by the seat of your pants decision. So if you don't have money set aside for emergencies, you may not be able to do what you want to do. If you don't have money set aside to cover your bills, you will lie awake at a night wondering if you've got enough money to pay those bills as they come through. The time-consuming thing that we hear quite often around people saying they can't do a budget because it takes hours and hours. The very first time you do a budget, it is reasonable time commitment. It's not hours and hours and hours. We always say to everybody, just go back and look at the last 3 months and see how much you spent. Inside my course, My Money Makeover, which is my signature course here at jenrichardson.co, I've got a spreadsheet. You just enter the details. If you've got lots and lots of transactions or you've got lots and lots of bank accounts, yes, it will take a little bit longer than somebody that doesn't have a lot of transactions. So if you're a tap and go type person, it's probably going to take you a few hours, but you don't have to do it all in one go. So it's about sitting down. You might just go, I'm going to do 1 week each day. That will mean in 13 days' time, you will have that 3 months done. So sitting there saying I haven't got time, you're going to waste more than that 2 weeks. So sitting down and just making a commitment. And remember what I say, one step forward is still a step in the right direction. So sitting there and looking at where you spend your money does not have to be a whole day affair. You just need to work out where you're spending. Once you know what you're spending money on, it gives you that opportunity to work out where you can put some savings in place. There is no magic wand or silver bullet. To increase your savings and reserves that you have, there is only one thing really for most of us: to cut your costs. You can go and get a second job, you can get a side hustle, you can sell off stuff And that's fine. And we tell you in the course some strategies around that. But you still have to cut your costs, because if you do not cut your spending, nothing will change. So it is important to make sure that you are looking at where you spend your money, looking at what you can substitute out. And I hear people all the time saying, I can't save when groceries are so expensive. There's no way to cut cost. I've already got it to the bare minimum. And so I say to those people when I'm working with them, come and do a printout of your receipt from your shopping for me. And when I look at where they're actually spending their money, they're buying things that aren't necessary. And yes, it's lovely that we've got chocolate biscuits. And yes, it's lovely that we've got blocks of chocolate or packets of chips or frozen foods, but they are expensive. Do they need to be bought? Probably not. They're a treat, and a treat doesn't happen all the time. There is a reason that shopping centres put those things at the end of the aisle, because you will notice them and you will want them. So there is no biscuits bought in my house unless they are on sale. So when they put biscuits on sale, I might buy 2 packets, but that will be it. The next time I do my grocery shopping, they don't get bought if they're not on sale. Same thing with ice cream. I do not buy ice cream unless it's on sale. I do not buy flour, sugar, any of those things unless they are on sale. Now, I get flour and sugar and things like that don't come on sale very often, but when they do, I buy them. Things like dishwashing liquid. I have never bought dishwashing liquid unless it is 50% off. And I'll give you inside My Money Makeover the keys to being able to reduce your shopping. And it's not going and buying pre-packaged things. Some people tell me they can't cook a cake unless they buy a packet mix. That's fine. You don't have to cook a cake from scratch, but you also don't buy the cake mix unless it's on special. They come on often enough that you can buy a few at a time. So when people tell me they can't put savings in place for their shopping or their grocery bills, I call that boohoo. I can find you ways to save money on your shopping. So I also have another little saying that I use all the time, and I use it mostly with my businesses, but it is equally as important to individuals. That can be measured can be changed. So if you can find out where you're spending money, you can change it. If you can't measure it, you can't possibly change it. So the things that you need to measure are where I spend the money, what days I spend money, when I do the most of my spending. These are all psychological things that will impact what you do with your money. And looking at when you spend money, is it when you go for brunch with your girlfriends? Because when you do, you go to this lovely little strip of shops, and as you're walking past, out the front of the shop is a rack of dresses or jumpers or something. So if you find yourself that you've gone for brunch, which is perfectly fine because that's important to you, but then as you're walking past, you pick up something from each of those shops each week, or you're walking past the bakery and you grab a chocolate cake. Look at your patterns of spending, because that will actually give you where you're spending money that's not necessary. A budget isn't there to shame you. It is there to help you build your wealth. And so when we have people that will say to us, I'm not growing my investments, my super's not growing, my emergency fund's getting less because I've had to dig into it, but I haven't been able to build it up. That's the financial cost of winging it. So if you know that you need to add $50 a week back to your emergency fund to top it back up to where it was, then you've got to find savings. If you don't know where you're spending money, you don't find savings to put into your long-term investments so that you can pay down your debt or build your financial wealth for retirement. Small steps are easier. So the financial cost of winging it is you might have to work another 1, 2, 3 years before you can retire. You might own your home 2 or 3 years earlier if you put a budget in instead of financially winging it. So we tell ourselves that we don't need a budget because I'm fine. I don't have debts. I don't have people ringing me chasing that I haven't made payments. But the outcome could have been better for you. It's a bit like, I guess, the healthy diet. You might eat McDonald's all day, every day, or KFC or Pizza Hut or any of those. And yes, you still manage to exist. You still get up and go to work. You still do everything. And you can say, I don't need to follow a healthy diet because I'm perfectly fine. But your lifespan could be cut short by 10 years because you haven't eaten the right vitamins and minerals. Your body has a heart attack because you've eaten too many fatty foods. So the financially winging it society impacts your future as much as anything. As I said, financially winging might mean you're working another 2 or 3 years. It might mean that you've got that debt, the home loan or the personal loans, anything that is costing you money that you can't build on to grow your wealth. So it's really important that you let go of those myths that a budget is restrictive, because what a budget does is it tells your money what's important to you. So you take control of your spending to do what you want to do, but also to build your own future wealth. It's also really important for us women in particular because we have less in our savings because of the gender pay gap, the gender super gap, but also because we take years out of our work. But we also have a longer life expectancy than men, which means we start with less that needs to get us to live longer with it. So it is important that when you're looking at your wealth creation, that you understand that you will have to live on your money statistically longer than your partner, your ex-husband, your family members that are male. So the key message that I want to give you today is to let go of the budget. Come join me in my money makeover where I'll show you how to do a budget with our tools and templates that we've got, so it will get you under control. The live events that we do on a weekly basis, you can ask me all the questions you need to ask, because learning how to budget, learning how to save, learning how to pay off debts is no different to learning how to drive a car. You will not get it right to start off with. Having somebody there to guide you and show you what you need to do is the key to success. That's why they put an experienced driver in with you for a year to pass their knowledge, to be the sounding block, to be the person that sees what's coming at you before you do because of lack of experience. So the benefits of budgeting is that it will take away emotional stress because you will have money set aside and categorized for everything that you need to do. It will give you control over your money. It will let you take control of your financial future. It will let you build wealth for yourself. It will make sure that your money knows where it's going. It's not just drifting off. And I don't know if you've ever done this, but I certainly did before I started budgeting, is, you go in the tap and go society that we're in. You can come home from shopping and not actually know what you've spent. So this 6 bank account system that I have will stop you doing that. It's a bit like when we had to go and get cash out and we shopped with cash. When there was no more money left in your wallet, it was time to go home. So that's what my 6 bank account does, and that's all of what I'll teach you and show you inside my money makeover. So that's it for today. I would like you to comment below what you think about that. If you've been a person that didn't think you needed a budget and now you can see the potential of what that could give you and your financial future, drop a comment below where you're either listening or watching to this podcast. and let me know what your aha moment was or what you're going to put in place so that you can get control of your money and your financial future. So that's it for today's podcast. Thank you for either listening or watching wherever you are. If you need any help with your budgeting or taking control of your money, reach out to me over on our website, jenrichardson.co, or where you're listening and watching this podcast. I hope that you have learnt something to help you on your journey today. And of course, if you know of any women that can benefit from what I talk about, please send them over to my podcast or my website, jenrichardson.co, and reach out to me if I can help you in any way. Don't forget to like and subscribe or follow me on my socials. They're all just jenrichardson.co, and I look forward to helping you on your financial journey. Have a great week, and I'll catch you next week. Bye for now. Remember, the advice shared in Dollars and Dreams is general in nature and it does not consider your own personal circumstances. Dollars and Dreams is for educational purposes only and should not be relied upon to make investment or financial decisions. If you need more help, please reach out to a financial advisor for tailored personal advice. Don't forget to click that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future content. And please leave me a review. Your feedback really helps me to reach other people chasing their money dreams. You can find me over on Facebook and Instagram to connect with me. You will find the link in the bio or head over to my website at jenrichardson.co, where you will find free content and learning tools.